Oh, turn the mic on a second early. The ad is still counting down its last couple of seconds. There it is. Hello. Hello. So I kind of just vanished after it wasn't even last week, it was the week before. It's been 2 weeks. I just kind of vanished without a word. I have been having a crisis of my own creation since then. And I'm not going to talk about it, but it's not resolved. I'm just punching my face through it. Oh my God, Spear, you resubscribed. That's the thing. I haven't done the alerts for it. Let me. So we got the new camera hooked up. That was the big project that we actually pushed through. The other thing was that's supposed to make a sound, and I actually picked up a thing here so that I can do that. But as you can see, they're still in the box, and I haven't created any of the sounds. So we're not quite that far yet because my brain has been saying you should do this. Wait, stop doing that. You should do this. But we got a new camera hooked up. You can't see it, of course, because, well, actually, you probably can. There it is. The old one's still plugged in behind it, but there's the new one. Hopefully, that'll fix all of our problems. I've had to fuss with the settings, so, and I bumped my head on it a few times, just doing stuff on the countertop over here. So that's the new camera. Hopefully, it works fine. Its focus is a little fussier than the old one, but you'll notice it doesn't have those lines. Are we live? That one's live. My hand's supposed to be in this camera right now. Oh, it already did something. This one. Camera. Oh no. Shit. Now it's got those lines again. Why did it seize up on me? It's this button right here that I have to turn off to make the lines go away. But then it shit. So that's the, damn it. Problem is it's new. Good, okay. I don't know why it seized up just now. We will have to keep an eye on that. But this is what it's supposed to look like. So as you can see, there's no lines there when I've actually got the thing set correctly. It filters out the lines, which my old one was having a hell of a time doing. The lines are because the light that's overhead here is an LED, and you are seeing the lines are literally, you're seeing the hertz of the electricity going through my my overhead lights. You are correct. How about now? Any echo now? So the new camera has a microphone, of course, because it's meant to be an all-in-one streaming thing. So I didn't even think of that. Also, hi Selena, and hi Mags. I was chatting and just talked right over, and then the camera. So we'll keep an eye on the camera. It's not that hard to set it back to this setting now that I figured out what the setting needs to be. It just takes a second, but I don't know why it seized up on me that one time. I'll continue to fuss with that on my own time. It's good enough for now. Clank, clank. Errand Ronnie. We should get started because I got some things to do today. I deliberately kind of gave what I'm doing a very simple name. It's not going to be simple. Um, so we've got a sweet potato. We've got this giant onion, an apple. Wow, I got so much more room to work with. The camera's got a slightly better range of view, and I think I can fit more stuff in here. Pork. And okay, which one? We're gonna start with the pork. We have to start with the pork because I think it's gonna take the longest. We're gonna pressure cook these little bitties because we can. And then we're probably gonna have to start caramelizing the onion. It's a whole thing. I've once again given myself a whole big crazy project. Those need to be browned off. Yes, we're going to get the magic machine, but these guys I think need to be browned off in a pan briefly before I do that. So, and keep an eye on the focus. Just shout at me if you think the focus is wonky over here. Steel pan. I'm going to use the same pan to do the pork as well as caramelize the onions. So I want something. I think we're going to do a sauce. Okay. We just need some heat on that. Some browning to develop the flavors a little bit before the meat goes in. Since I don't think we actually need to get this dirty, so a little bit of butter to start it off. Okay. So what we're making today, you'll see in the title, pork and applesauce gnocchi. Pork and applesauce with gnocchi. I've deliberately phrased that in a misleading way. We are making a sauce of pork and apple. We're not making pork and applesauce. We're making pork and apple sauce. That's the plan. I have an idea. I don't know if it's good. While that butter is starting to melt, I will. Wow. It's much roomier down. I already love the way that this is just more roomy down here. I can space stuff out. Although you can see my salt dish in the corner. Used to be hidden. And I like making gnocchi, and I have this sweet potato that's been hanging out here that I need to use up, so I'm going to make sweet potato gnocchis. Oh boy. So I literally walked around the store in circles over and over again, grabbing different things each time, and I sort of built this recipe in my head as I was shopping for it. So I don't know if this is going to work, but we're going to find out. Oop, I need some of the bits. This is just apple cider, American style sweet apple cider. So non-alcoholic pressed apple juice with the bits still in it. Because I'm thinking pork and apples go together. Apples are sweet and acidic in a way that tomatoes are 2 cups of liquid, half of it cider. I don't have any stock right now, so we're just going to do this with that. So I'm trying to make an apple glaze reduction pork thing. That's the idea. Good thing I bought celery. I just looked at my old celery and it was old in the wrong way. But I bought a new celery, so I can have a new celery. You guys are just looking at the butter as it melts. How's the butter doing? Is it melted yet? Let me know. Shout when the butter is ready. I'm going to use up these little baby carrots. They're starting to sprout. Cybertrez. Oh, how's it going? It's going in a profoundly negative way, but I'm just kind of mashing my face through the issues, and here we are. Okay, we're gonna brown off these. So these are called riblets. They're the trimmings of ribs. So there's a lot of connective tissue, not a ton of meat, and there's a little row of bones in the middle. They are often a little bit annoying to work with because there's a lot of bone and connective bits and not a lot of meat. But if you want a good extraction of flavors and all that sort of lovely stuff that goes into a stock or a sauce, they're great for that. Tizan! Hello. I will moisten in just a momento. Un momento. We're just browning them off a little bit here. We're not giving them a thorough cook. We're just browning them off a little bit here because I want some of that browning flavor. Thank you for the moisten. Moist. Okay. We need a few vegetables, though, since I'm not using a pre-made stock. It's going to be a little bit one note if I do not include something in here with the meat. We're going to cut them down just a little bit. And a baby onion. We don't need a ton. There's going to be a lot of onion going in here anyways. So this is a good chance to use these little baby onions. How's our focus? In my fussing with this thing, this camera does not like to be told where to focus. That's the biggest issue I've noticed with it. It's just like, no, I don't want to focus there. I want to focus where I want to focus, which is like here for some reason. Or initially was about 50 feet straight down in the floor. That was delightful. So, if everything goes fuzzy, shout at me. I'll work it out. I got to keep my eye out for these little baby onions in the future. It's been so much more convenient using little baby onions for when I just need a little bit of onion. Okay. The pork is smelling porky, so I'm going to go over with my... Well, I'm glad I could help. As you may have noticed, I've been in absentia a little bit lately. And I keep telling myself, you just got to get back in the groove. You just got to get back in the groove. And I've gotten back in the groove multiple times, and then I fall back out of the groove. So I also need this right now, so we can be happy and need it together. I'm hoping that this whole nonsense is going to work the way I think it's going to work. Let's get my compost bucket open so I can throw stuff in right away. Oh, so what have you guys been up to? I've mostly been hanging out here. Iceman Nitro from Spain, all the way from Spain. It's the middle of the night there. What are you doing up? Welcome in. Hello. We are in the beginning phases of what might end up being a very elaborate project here. Let's see, we're going to need to peel that. And we're going to need to peel the... Oh, I know what I'll do. Where's my peeler? I know what I'll do. Before I peel the potato, you guys don't need to look at the pork. Before I peel the potato, we're going to peel the apple. We're going to throw the apple skins in there to boost the appliness of our stuff. We're not going to use the core because it'll be hard to fish it out, but this way I'm not wasting the apple skins. 00 a.m. Yep. Well, welcome to this, my return from mental health problems week, which was last week. Hooray! Okay, we're gonna get these in here, nestle in the pieces of meat, and then we're gonna get this thing on the pressure cook because we need all the stuff in here, vegetables and the meat, to really just fall apart, or we're not gonna be able to make a sauce out of it. Okay, apple. I don't want that to get all brown, so we're going to do this real quick. So we've just got surface browning. It doesn't need to be real thorough, just because you can't get that kind of flavor development from this. Scrape it off. Okay. Good, good, good. This is what it looks like now. We're going to throw it into the cooker. Oop, power on. Close the vent. Lock, lock. Those are pretty skinny, so I think 20 minutes should be fine. We're going to cook it a little bit after it comes out as well. So it doesn't need to be perfect. It just needs to be the point where I can get the bones out of it without a struggle. Let me... Okay. Okay. Part 2, our apple is going to start browning. So, and I'm not ready to use it just yet. But since it's going to start browning, we have to prep it up so that I can get some juice on it. I've chosen a Granny Smith because it's a bit on the tart side. The cider we started with is rather sweet, so I didn't want another sweet apple. I thought doubling up the sweetness would be excessive. And also, Granny Smith is a bit of a sturdier apple. It's slippery because I took the skin off, but a bit of a sturdier apple. And we're going to cook with it, so I didn't want it to go completely to mush. A lot of those sweet eating apples can't stand up to this, to being cooked. Black wine. I don't know what black wine is. The liquid that was in there was already half apple cider. So I don't think I need any more of that. But normally, yes, when I'm doing a braise, I would probably put wine in. Okay, these guys. Oh yeah, feel free to jump in with advice. I love getting ideas from the audience. Although sometimes I don't see them right away. So what we've got here is just our apple chunks with some lemon juice. I'm going to add a little bit more, because I don't need them right away, but I wanted to put the skins in with the braise. So the lemon juice will prevent this from just oxidizing while it sits. And then I'm going to put a little lid on it. Put a little lid on it. That'll help as well. Less air in there to fight with. Okay, now wipe this down because it's all appley. Now we start the potato. Oh, and the water to boil the potato. That's going to be too small. The large pot. Okay. We're going to get the water on the go. We're going to boil the sweet potato so it's mashable so that we can make gnocchi out of it. We're also going to weigh it after I peel it so that we have a good idea of how much flour we need. But that water needs to be boiling. Okay. This guy. I like a sweet potato. I don't eat it enough. I'm always reminded about them around the holidays because they go on sale for Thanksgiving, and then they're all over the place. And I enjoy them, and then I forget about them because they're available year-round. Oop, we have an ad coming up, or according to my thing, in 2 minutes. Heads up. I do run mid-roll ads in order to keep pre-rolls off the channel. I try to give warning whenever possible and not do anything exciting while we're gone. The little... I am going to take all the little eyes out of the potato. And that bit, which is just a stem piece. So what's everybody having for, or have had, for those of you in Spain for dinner? Yes, this is a sweet potato. You can use, in my experience, any starchy root to make gnocchi. My very first attempt at gnocchi here on the channel, I tried to make tricolor gnocchi with white potatoes, sweet potatoes, and beets, and it became an ordeal because I was prepping 3 different doughs side by side, and that was a bad idea. But just the fact of having the different things in there, I got to sort of test out a bigger knife. Now the ad just says ad starting soon. Because regular white potatoes certainly make a nice white gnocchi, but they don't have any flavor. They taste like potato, which is a very, very mild flavor. Other things, I've only done it with sweet potatoes and... Did I do it with parsnips? Can't remember. But parsnips, turnips... we're throwing these right into the water as it comes up to a boil. Parsnips, turnips, beets, sweet potatoes, yams, which are different than sweet potatoes. Oh, there's the ad. I will stop talking, and you're not missing anything. Okay. And we're back from the ad. I forgot what I was saying. Something about starchy roots. All of our sweet potato is now in the pot with the water that is coming up to a boil. There's quite a lot there. I forgot to weigh it. Damn. Okay, well, too late now. Part 3. I've already got the pan out over here. We're going to put it on low heat and add more butter. Quite a lot more butter. Two tablespoons more butter. Because part 3 is this beast. I normally do not... I just commented a second ago how much I like the little baby potatoes, or not little baby onions. And this is the opposite of that. This is the largest sweet onion I could find. As you can see, it fills my hand. It's a good soft ball. And it's a sweet onion, which also I don't typically get. It is enormous. It is a very, very large onion. And as a sweet onion, it is also mild and sweet. Because we're going to caramelize this thing. Which is why I wanted the biggest one I could get, because I didn't want to buy two. When you caramelize onion, it shrinks up a lot. It's a very juicy onion, too. But yeah, it's pretty big. We got so much more room, it doesn't look quite as big compared to the camera, but compared to my hands, it's a giant. Okay. Onion, and we're going to use the whole thing, which means we're going to have to carefully cut it. I want it, doesn't need to be razor thin, but I want it pretty thin. We don't want any big pieces of the core. We want it pretty thin so that it can, ooh, I'm already getting a little bit teary. This would be a good onion ring onion. Oh yeah, okay. Okay, and we put extra butter in the pan because you need quite a lot of fat and some extra water to caramelize your onion. Oop. Just saying about those core pieces. We don't want those core pieces like that. They got to get... Okay, so we got to cut it the other way around so that it slices through those core pieces so they don't fall out like this. We want to put a little bit of salt in to help it draw out its moisture, but not too much because we don't want this to be extra salty. I want to be able to control my salt content later. I notice we're a little bit blown out in terms of the white balance over here. I'll have to fuss with that later. Now that everything's white. We could bring this guy back just to make it not completely white over there. Remember this guy? We haven't seen him in ages. He used to be there for me, for my tricking the old camera's light sensor into not being completely closed and dark, because it hated the all white countertop and white cutting boards and white everythings. So caramelizing an onion. Onions have a lot of natural sugar in them. All onions do. Sweet onions have a bit more. Not a ton more, but a bit more. So it makes them quite noticeably sweeter. When you caramelize an onion, you're literally turning the sugars in the onion into a caramel. It is different from browning, which is the Maillard reaction, which is what you got, which is what we were trying to get on that meat there in that pan, was some actual browning. In this case, we do not want to brown the onions, which means I need to have them carefully controlled on their heat so that they don't brown, and then they will slowly turn brown all the way through. Potatoes are boiling a little bit too vigorously. It will slowly turn brown and all the way through. As their moisture cooks out, they will shrink, and they'll get thick and sticky and jammy and delicious. And you need a lot of onion to make caramelized onion because of the way they shrink up. So this is going to be something that we're going to have to kind of sit and tend for a while. We pop over to the stove. And we do need a little bit of salt. Salt helps pull some of the moisture out of the onion. It's important to have some moisture in the pan so that the pan does not get too hot. And if we're worried about it, we can actually always, if you're caramelizing onions and your pan is ever too dry, add some water. You can actually turn the heat up and do it a little bit faster if you watch your water level and ensure that there's always some water buffering the onion, because the temperature at which it browns is higher than the temperature at which water boils. So as long as there's some water in there boiling, simmering away, contact with the pan won't get hot enough to brown the surfaces of your onions. And the traditional way is to just do it very slowly, but you can cheat by adding some water to the pan, which is what we've done here. I don't want to add any, there should be plenty of sweetness in there. You could start by boiling them. In fact, you're much more right than I think you are. As long as you cook the water away instead of draining it, As long as you boil the water off instead of draining it off, that should work. You should, it should, so we could put a lot of water in here and simmer this. The thing is, if you drain the water, then you've drained away all the stuff that the onions would have extracted into the water, a lot of which is the sugars that you are after. Which is why that's typically not the way you do it. You don't want tons of extra water because then you got to burn through tons of extra water. But really, having it be a light simmer with just enough water that you can get rid of it when you're done with it, you can boil it away when you're done with it, that should work. I haven't done it fully, but in theory, that should work. We should do a side-by-side test someday with traditional caramelized onions and boiled onions just sort of sitting next to each other and see what the differences are. I assume someone has done that test, like for real, out there in the world. Potatoes, pork, onions. Yes, onions have natural sugar. Onions have quite a lot of sugar. Onions and carrots are both quite high in natural sugar, which makes sense because in both cases, they are storing calories for the plant so that it can use them in the future. That's why a plant grows a big bulb or a big fat root like that. And then we've selected for onions that grow even, like you look at wild onions and they get a bulb, but it's not that big. But yeah, onions have quite a lot of natural sugar in them. And that's why caramelizing onions works. And that's why in French cookery and in Italian cookery and in Creole cookery, you start with your onions, your carrots, your celery, and your bell peppers. Each of those cultures sort of has a combo of those things. And you mince them up and you cook them, but not real hard at the beginning. The French mirepoix is onions, celery, and carrots minced up real fine and cooked gently, sweated gently, to express their natural sugars, to amp up the sweetness of the carrots and of the onions. Celery's not so much. Celery's not terribly sweet. Celery is in there as an herb, actually. Strange as that sounds. Okay. I think we have a breath. I'm chit-chatting because I think we have a breath. But I think we have a breath now before we have to move on to... I bet if I put the lid on the onions, they would go a little bit quicker too. But yeah, the pressure cooker says 7.5 minutes. I don't remember how long the potatoes have been in there, but we're going to need to periodically test them for doneness. They need to be at mashing doneness. So let's snag one. Grab a fork. Let's snag one, grab a fork. Breaks apart with a fork. It looks like it mashes. It's ever so slightly under, which is probably good because we're going to cook them again. Boy, sweet potatoes are good. Eat more sweet potatoes. They're good. I'm going to eat this one that I mashed. Sweet potatoes soften up quite a bit faster than white potatoes. They're less starchy and more sugary, and the starch helps give other potatoes structure. So having less of it means they're a little bit less structurally sound. Mm. Yummers, sweet potato. We're gonna need that pot, but I don't need that water anymore. So I guess I will go for the old-fashioned drain. Keep the pot handy. Okay, the potatoes need to cool down enough that I can handle them, because I need to knead flour into them. So we're gonna have to just let them sort of rest over there until I get back to them. If you've never caramelized onions at home, first of all, if you've never had caramelized onions, you are missing out. You can get them store-bought sometimes. They actually store pretty well. So I'm surprised they're not a more common grocery item. Just like a jar of caramelized onions. I'm sure that's a thing. I know they're included in stuff a lot. But if you've never made them yourself at home, the smell that they make is so delightful. It is one of the big delights. We have quite a lot of. I can't really describe it as anything other than it smells like onions and butter. But it's just so perfect. We have, I don't know if you can see, quite a bit more liquid in there than I started with. My onions have started to express their own internal water into our mix. I might add just a scooch more salt because there is quite a bit of onion there. Bunions are yucky. So, it takes around 30 minutes to caramelize onions. It can take longer, especially if you've got a big volume of it. I think it's best to do it on a flat top, on a griddle, because you can really spread them out. This is my widest pan, so we're stuck with this. It's wider than my own griddle. I suppose we could have used the big cast iron. I think the big cast iron is marginally bigger than this steel pan, but it's real close. And this is easier to clean, so. Okay. Yeah. Max, your kitchen is 95% done. Posted before and after in Tug's Discord. Well, if you like Discords, I also have a Discord that I don't do much with, but it exists, and you can be there if you want. I will check out Tug's Discord later. I am interested to see. I've been hearing the blow by blow as this project has been progressing. Let's get the water back in this pan while I'm waiting. We're going to need that later, and I may as well just get it out of the way while I'm waiting. Okay. We won't bring that to a boil until much later when we've made our gnocchis. Okay. There's under a minute left on the pork, so that's going to be our next element. So I'm going to wait and just kind of push the onions around until that happens. When caramelizing your onions, be sure to turn them regularly, not constantly, but like sort of rotate the mass so that the ones on top get down to the bottom and the ones on the bottom get up to the top. It will help them go more evenly. You don't want the ones at the bottom getting really perfectly jammy and the ones at the top being barely cooked. Jonathan Vack. Oh my goodness. I know you from that there Minecraft. You're just in time for this. Let's see if it shows up. Sometimes it does. There it goes. And of course, that is very loud for me. I don't know how loud it is for you. We're releasing the pressure on our pressure cooker. It smells. Oh, it smells interesting. Ooh. It does not. I can smell the. I can smell the meatiness, but it smells almost cinnamony, which is weird because there's no cinnamon in there. You can't see it anymore, so I'm gonna swap back. Oops, swap back over. I've spent so much time lately on the on Hecky's community Minecraft server that I've been thinking, oh, I should stream this. When I'm sitting here playing Minecraft, just I don't have a camera set up over there, so that would be a thing. I would just do a no face cam hookup. I should do that, and I haven't done it. One of those things that tell me I should just do that. We're going to swap out the plastic board because I think it'll melt. It's over here. The wooden board because I know that won't be harmed. Our thing went beep beep beep. We're going to see together what this thing looks like. We're going to get our pot holders ready because it is going to be blazing hot. Do you remember what it looked like when I put it in? Because now it's going to be the difference. What does it look like? It's blazing hot. It's literally more than boiling hot. And yes, you can check the VOD. And I upload the VODs to YouTube as is unedited for video storage because you can do that. If you ever want to look at one of my older ones, this is so hot. I want to get the meat out of there so it can cool off a little bit because I need to be able to handle it because I need to get those bones out of there. So this magic pot, by the way, has been such a godsend for. I shill for them occasionally. This is a Ninja Foodie pressure cooker steam fryer with smart lid that I got on a clearance rack. This thing has enabled stuff like what we're doing here. Cooking pork ribs to the point where they fall off the bone. You can do it. I've done it. I've done it as a braise and I've done it as a stovetop. It's not fast. Now I want to leave all the vegetable parts in the pot. So I got to be gentle and careful. So this would have taken, it was in there for 20 minutes, and it would have taken us a couple hours. Probably at least an hour. Oop. As you can see, it's already coming apart. We're taking at least an hour to do this the old-fashioned way. But as you can see, it's a fall apart. Tumultuous past few months. Started on ADHD meds. Moved to a new apartment. Well, hot dang. That sounds like cause for celebration to me. I'm going to celebrate with applesauce and pork. Oop. But congrats. It's so good. Okay. I was pretty careful about what I put in here because I did not want to throw this away. This is going to be part of our flavors. So I'm going to go return it to the outer housing. 12 seconds to the ad, according to the thing. Let me know how that goes. 3, 2, 1. And then it says add soon, which is just why? Why not actually say the actual time? Bizarre. Okay, this needs to cool off because I need to be able to handle it to pop the little bones out, which by the looks of it will be really easy because the ones, they just were falling out on their own without me having to give it much effort. I'm tempted to give it a taster just to see what we're working with. Weird. It's now that wasn't salted, so the flavors are all a little bit muted on account of it not having any salt. But that was a darn good way to cook that. It's very tender, very pork forward. Just slide that over. And again, I've used those little riblets before. Stop. I've used those little riblets before. Now I don't think I've done it here. I've done it on my own time, and they are very cheap. Oh, you're back. You're back. My thing still says add in progress for another 45 seconds. Interesting. Interesting. But these are cheap. This was what, $3, and that's at least enough meat for two, depending on how you use it. Let's push our onions around a little bit. I suspect I might have more caramelized onions than I need when I'm done with this, but that's a good problem to have. Caramelized onions go on, well, anything. Mix them into your mac and cheese. Throw a dollop in your ramen. Just eat them on toast. I don't know if you've been watching. Weird. See, I'm afraid of pre-rolls because I am such a small channel. I know that when I go into a channel that I don't know anything about and they have a pre-roll, I tend to bounce unless there's something that I know I'm looking for. So that's why at my stage I'm more concerned about pre-rolls, and then I just try to be kind about not doing anything when the mid-rolls pop up. I don't know if you can tell, it's been a slow, gradual process, but our onions have developed a light golden hue, and that's what we're looking for. The light golden hue of the sugars starting to turn. Which means we just need to slowly, gently keep an eye on them until they're a sort of dark caramel brown. I've been part of this discussion about ads many times with Hecky. So what we're doing here is we're caramelizing the onions. So we are slowly breaking down the cell structure of the onions with a gentle heat. So then the onions, because a plant cell is like a little box, hard on the outside, and then it does all of its plant stuff on the inside. When you cook something normally with just high heat, you get a browning on the surface, and that browning on the surface is called the Maillard reaction, and it is not. It has nothing to do with caramelization. It has nothing to do with the sugars. It's why you can get it on meat that has no sugar in it at all. That browning, and that gives you that sort of that dark cooked flavor. I don't have a word for it. I don't know if there is a word. There probably is a word for it. I don't know that word for it, but you know what it is. Like if you eat a grilled piece of chicken versus a boiled piece of chicken, the grilled piece of chicken has that that to it. That's not what we're doing here. What we're doing here is we're very, very, very slowly heating this so the cells fall apart and they let the water and the sugars that are inside of them out into the goop. So the onions are getting soft. The onions are getting progressively softer and softer as we slowly cook them down. And the sugars that are released are gradually caramelizing, which I can't remember exactly what the chemical meaning of caramelization is, but it's the thing that happens to sugar when you hate it. It's literally what caramels are made out of, is caramelized sugar. People will say, "Oh, I've caramelized something that doesn't have any sugar in it." You can't actually do that. It's a different thing that's causing the browning. So that's what we're doing here. The end result, these should be like dark brown, like almost a soy sauce dark brown. Probably not quite that dark, but in that sort of realm of dark brown. And they'll be so soft. Like I cut them in pretty big slices. They'll shrink up and they'll be really soft. They'll be almost like a jam, like a fruit jam. But of course, onions are a lot more savory. There's a lot of sugar in them, but they're a lot more savory than a fruit. So it'll be this sweet, savory, and you can't shortcut the caramelization process. If you do that, you end up with the Maillard process, and you get that surface browning instead of this deep browning that we're going for. So that's the process here. It's not super exciting to watch, and you actually don't need to tend it very much. I just ended up getting in a very chit-chatty thing while I was waiting for both the potatoes and the pork to cool. Our volume of onions is way down, and you can see I kind of pressing it together. I want everything sort of as close to the bottom heat as it can be, so that it gets heated as evenly as we can, because that's the biggest enemy to getting a nice caramelized onions, is when you got the ones sort of sitting at the top that don't get as much heat. So that's the goal. So this will progressively turn more golden and then start to turn brown. Our meat can be touched, so I'm going to, and our potatoes are warmed a little bit warmer than the meat. So I'm going to do the meat next. We're going to pop over here. Get out a scrap bowl, and this should be easy. We're taking these little bone nuggets out, and they should all just pop out. And you end up with this sort of funny shaped piece of meat. Because of course you can't eat the bones, and these bones are too small for marrow. These are rib cross sections, so they've already done everything that they're going to do by getting extracted into the liquid that we have in the pot back there. Yeah, if you ever have a question about what I'm doing, or if I say something that doesn't make sense, jump in. I love talking about the process. Is that all of them? I think so. I think so. Well, I'll know when I run a knife through it. The knife won't go through a piece of bone. Let's take the power off on the pot. We don't need that. The bones are just trash at this point. Bring back our plastic board. Now this is tender enough that I can just pull it apart. But I want it not minced, but like chopped up into little bits, smaller than the tear apart bits. So we're gonna run the knife through it, which will also let me know if there's any bones. But there's basically no effort to this. It's so tender. I just wanted sort of this. This would be the time where you get a cleaver and just go whack, 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 whack. Because it's tender enough that it just kind of works. And that's about the size I'm looking for. Probably before I did the little play whacking at the end there. Oh, I should have used, oh well. The meat can go in that bowl and get put to the side until I need it. It's going to get cooked a little bit more, but it's already cooked, so I don't have to worry about getting it in at any particular time. Check on our onions in a sec. I'm going to have to work on the white balance on that camera, I think. It hasn't seized up since I started, so whatever that was at the beginning, I don't really know. I'm going to clean even though there's not raw meat on any of these things, I'm just going to go ahead and clean my meaty stuff now, just out of practice. Whenever you do meat stuff, you should clean it up. It's raw meat safety, but just a good habit to have for all meat things. Meats have a much higher risk of harboring pathogens. And also, meat juices get real stinky real fast. Which is another major reason that you should probably clean them up right away. No sense in letting them get stinky for no reason. Okay. Okay. Those guys cleaned up. Our pork ready to go. I should have let you guys see the back of my head. Well, if you have any questions, don't hesitate to jump in. Did you catch my Discord link? You can always ask questions of me in my Discord. Probably expired by now. Our friend Sizan popped in with a very interesting question about eating blood in the context of what would a fancy vampire serve with blood? And that was a especially fun challenge, but you can ask questions that don't have to be quite so crazy. Hold up. Here, let me drop that in there once again. Oh, somebody did show up. Welcome in to the old Discord. Okay. It's still a very small time Discord. I was about to say I have plans for it. I have no plans for it. I just know that I was supposed to have a Discord on the side with my channel, and that's what I did. I can hear the tone of the sizzle on my onions changing, which means we're running out of water. So I'm going to add some water to ensure that it does not dry out too much, because I want it to keep caramelizing because it's not brown enough. This is why I can't have a headset, because there's so many things that are just like, it looks exactly the same, but it sounds different. So, especially since I'm going to be distracted for a minute over here, I want to ensure that it does not get away from me. we're going to weigh our potato, because I did not do that before I cooked it, which means it is all waterlogged now, around 500 grams. Just to give me an idea of how much flour I'm going to have to add to this. If you want to cook, especially if you want to do any baking, get a digital scale. I mean, you can get a manual scale too, but get a kitchen scale. It will make your life so much easier. It's one of those things. Let's get out the tower of flour, the flour tower. We're going to mash this with the masher before I go in with the flour. We want this to be very well mashed. If you have a ricer, I don't have a ricer. If you have a ricer, use a ricer. You really don't want lumps if you're making gnocchi out of your potatoes. And a ricer ensures that you've got no lumps. I'm almost tempted to push this through a sieve to ensure that it's very, very smooth. Well, I mean, if it works, that's all I need is a working scale. Digital is just easy, super easy to read because you can put your bowl on the plate and then zero it out, so then you're not weighing the bowl. If you're buying a new one, digital is the way to go. If you've already got one, then use that one. Why not? Tell you, if I had an old-fashioned manual scale, I would use it on the show. I would make a point of being like, oh, we're gonna. I'd have to get a separate camera setup for it. Speaking of camera, we've already talked about the camera a little bit, but can I move you? No. Which one am I grabbing? I'm grabbing the wrong one. That one. You can finally. We can scroll up and we can see the top edge where the spice rack is. We don't need that space very much, but it's up there if we ever need it. I feel like can I get it through the food mill? Probably not. Sorry, that's not a food mill, that's a sifter. If I had a food mill, that'd work too. I guess. Without the tool, we're just going to have to wing it. I'm just going to. I'll go at it with this fork. Once I'm satisfied with the masher, just to ensure that it's less likely to have any lingering lumps. You can overwork it a little bit compared to what you'd make for a mashed potato, because we do want to make a dough out of it. So having it being a little bit sticky is okay. So I'm just going to take this fork and just kind of Smooshy smoosh. Because if you have any lumps in it at this stage, they will, you'll hardly see them at this stage, but once they're in the dough with the flour, they will stick out. And then scrape it down. That should be good enough. So in terms of mashed potatoes, we currently have smooth but gluey, which is not good. But in terms of gnocchi, we have smooth and gluey, which is exactly what we're looking for. Okay, thanks for hanging out. Thanks for popping in. Good to see ya. Oh my God, archery class. That's exciting. Also, hello, welcome in. Catch you later, Jonathan. Tear that up. Well, tell us all about it. I'm going to open up a quick reference. Yeah. Yeah. Oh, but wait, please. But wait, please. Why is it so hard for people recipes to just use weight? It just talked about how you should use weight. Yeah. Good Lord. 20 ounces, 2 grams. Okay, so we have about 20 ounces, which means I need an egg and 200 grams of flour. Okay. Recipe writers of the internet, use weight, especially for something that's a variable size like a sweet potato. I've never seen 2 sweet potatoes of the same size. Spot on. And 1 egg, which we also should have a weight for, but we're just going to use an average sized egg rather than fight about it. And keep flour handy because you might want to add more flour if it's not the right consistency. It is a pasta, so consistency is more important than exact measurements, but still. Okay. One egg. Oh, so how's it going, bookwoman? seen you for a while. Break that yolk. Okay, and that's taken care of. Let's pop back over and take a peek at our onions. They're developing a bit more of a golden hue. We're still working off the water I added to them to ensure that they didn't go too fast. So I guess I will just let them keep simmering in their own time since they're pretty wet. I think if I turned the heat up a little bit, they'd go a little bit faster because they have the water, but then they would boil off faster. And since I'm distracted, I'm not going to do that. Pizza sounds pretty good. We're making applesauce. Can't you tell? I think we're getting into the realm of pulling stuff together. So okay. Okay, now we got the sticky part. Flour up your hands. Ad starting soon. Flour up your hands. Well, just to have the flour ready, I guess, because it keeps absorbing it at this stage. We need this to pick up all the flour that's in there and come together into a dough. That doesn't stick to my hand. And it doesn't fly out and land on my spice rack. This is the time when we will see how well we did with our delumping. Because the lumps will stick out. This is a sticky dough. We need more flour for sure. Oh my God. That's a Prime sub. Thank you so much. Did you know that if you have Amazon Prime, you have a free subscription to the channel of your choice? You don't have to use it here, but you should use it somewhere because you've already paid for it. Brownies. That is a good story. At least you got paid for your good deed, and in brownies, no less. Perhaps magic brownies? Perhaps not. Oh, it really stuck to my hand. It was definitely too sticky. Probably not. Okay, I'm just gonna do this aggressively over the sink. Okay. Just little bits of... Oh, you guys are looking at the wrong side this whole time. So we need this to form a pillowy, workable, and not sticky, at least not very sticky, dough. We want it, because we're going to need to get it out of this bowl so we can roll it out, and if it's too sticky, it'll just stick to our table. I think that's probably getting there. So we'll turn it out. Take the bits and try to convince it to pick them up. Pick up those bits. Okay, it's slightly tacky. This is the new camera. The new camera is here. I can definitely tell. I can see that it doesn't have those scan lines. It also has a slightly wider view, so we have more space to work with. Needs more flour. Boy, that reference route looked up for this was wildly wrong in terms of the amount of flour it needs. But yes, this is the new camera. We are having a good time with it. It's a little fussy in some ways. It really, really does not like being told what its focal length should be. It wants to autofocus. I have it locked, and it's not happy about it. It also needs some work on its white balance, I think. Oh, dang. We're sticky again. Because this side especially gets really blown out. No. So I'm just working handfuls of flour in until, because you can see it kind of leaves this residue on the worktop as I'm kneading it, and I'm putting handfuls of flour into it until it stops doing that. For those of you who've come late, we're making currently in the front here sweet potato gnocchi. Which is almost ready for the dough to rest. It just needs to stop being so wet. Over on the stove, we have an entire gigantic, like bigger than a softball-sized sweet onion caramelizing for our applesauce. We have our pork ribs here already cooked up, removed from their bones, and ready to go. Likewise for the applesauce. Dang, it's still has so much moisture that as soon as you kind of let it rest, it really just wants to stick. It keeps caking on my hands, which is another sign that it's not ready. It's one of those things where it feels like it's not doing anything, like it's not making progress, but then all of a sudden it'll be perfect. Roll up our flour. I think this is going to be a lot more than I need, so I'm going to just do half of it once it's at the done stage. So we're hoping for a dough that is pillowy, supple, and most importantly, just barely tacky. We don't want it doing this. And it's always going to be a bit stickier than an all flour dough. There's quite a lot of moisture in there because we boiled those potatoes. That might be it. It was never going to be a bread dough. That's never going to happen. So it's sticking to me a little bit and just barely to the countertop. Let's get it off my hands a little bit here. You need to go and check on the onions. Oh man. I'm gonna have to go at my hands with a scrubber. They are very caked on with this stuff. So I'm going to cut that in half. We're going to use half of that today, and we're going to save half of it for a rainy day, rather than do all of it at once. It does need to rest a little bit, which is fine. We can a very old box of the tail end of a box of cling wrap here. Oh, come on. It still seems a little sticky to me. Oh. And there, we have made our sweet potato back into a sweet potato. All of that effort was just so that we could make our own sweet potato out of sweet potato. I am getting tired of, oh, it's tearing now. That box of cling wrap has been giving me problems for weeks as it gets down to the end and is harder and harder to... Okay, we're definitely getting a little too sticky still, so I'm a little bit worried about that. a little bit worried about it being too sticky. But there you go. 2 sweet potatoes. Honestly, they're probably both too big. Oh, that was a big sweet potato. They need to rest. We're going to get to them in a little bit. We still have to build our actual sauce and finish caramelizing our onion, which has taken quite a bit longer than I predicted. Probably because it was such a large amount of onion to begin with. Okay. Pop over to the stove. So our onions are... We've burned off the remaining water from my little dose of slow it down water. And I don't want to add any more at this point because I think we're at this part where it just needs to get mashed down and cooked until it's brown. It's certainly starting to smell like caramelized onion. I think we're at the real blonde stage of it. A little piece of onion off of there. Okay, with that needing to do that. How hot is this? This is cooled off. We can get that working. I'm going to do a thing real quick. We're going to yank that burner. Don't look under that burner. We're going to switch that one in there. Switch that one in there. It's probably around time to change these trays, these pans, because we're going to use that one to cook something. And I want you guys to be able to see it. So we're going to put it in the back row with you guys. I'm throwing away the tail end of this cling wrap because I don't want to have to fight to find the end and untear it. And I've got a new box in there, and that one's been giving me headaches for weeks. It keeps shredding and it refuses to pull off the thing, etc., etc., etc. Okay. Part this one. I'm not sure what part we're on. I've lost count. We are retrieving our... We're not retrieving it onto that board. We're on a plastic board because I don't want to get the butter that's in there, the butter and grease that's in there, into the wood. Normally, I would say don't bother saving this stuff after you've cooked it down and made a stock like we've done. But I want to save this stuff this time. We're making some odd decisions today. Because we want the liquid and we want the stuff. Ooh, wow! Wow, that tastes weird. Whoa. Whoa. Weird. We're forming a puddle. Now this stuff should be so tender that it doesn't barely resist. I just want to make sure that it's almost a mash. And I got to do it. Oh, you guys are over there again. I always forget to change the angle. So I want this kind of really smashed up because I don't want any of these to still be pieces in the finished product. But I want their cooked down mushy vegetableness to help contribute to the thickness of our sauce. Their flavors have all been extracted, or they should have been, into the liquids. We're also using the liquid, but I want to get this stuff in there first. I'm kind of making a board sauce, except that I'm going to cook it. Now we pop over to the stove. Get all that stuff in there. Scrape down the board. Yeah, I don't know if it's going to work. I don't know if it's going to work at all. Heat on slightly above medium. Get it sizzling. Check in on our caramelized onions again. I think the heat needs to come up on them just a scooch. I think that's why. I think I was a little bit too afraid of having them on high heat because I was doing other things and getting distracted. But they do need, I think, just a skosh more heat in order to caramelize properly, and just a smidge more water. This is the weirdest stuff. It's because it's so sweet. That's what makes it so weird. Now we bring back the wood board. And break out the garlic, because we have not added garlic to this yet, but come on. But come on, we can't not add garlic. Although I don't want a ton of garlic, because we're going, I think it's going to end up being a fairly delicate flavor. So I don't want to overwhelm it with a bunch of garlic. Ugh. we could, again, that would be the thing for a food mill or a ricer. I probably could get that mashed through a sieve. I'm just going to leave it as is for now. I think it'll be fine. It's very soft from having been pressure cooked. And also because cleaning the sieve is I hate cleaning the sieve. So I only use it when I have to. That does make sense though. You're not damn it, why do I always do this? Just get out the tube, put the garlic in the tube, peeled garlic. Peeled garlic. I always fuss around and then remember the tube. Remember the tube. Oh. Garlic skin. Okay. Take the little noses off of our garlics. Give them a smash. Give them a smash. That one's not want to smash. Give them a smash. As always, what we're doing here is mostly making a sauce. Not as always for me, but as always for like elaborate cooking. Like most of the effort goes into the sauce. We're looking pretty snazzy on the old these guys though. Really, what this stuff wants to have done to it is blend. Be blended smooth. I really don't want to break out the blender. Throw in my garlic. I didn't talk about the garlic this time. Always prep your garlic, however you're going to prep it, before you throw it on the heat. Don't mash it directly. Now, I didn't use my masher this time, but don't mash it directly into the heat. You need to give it, it doesn't need to be that long, like a minute. I like to give it several minutes usually. I didn't this time, but usually. But at least a minute before you hit the heat with it so that it has a chance to develop its flavors. Chemicals that develop the flavors in garlic are not heat stable. So if you smash it right into the heat, it degrades those enzymes that make that garlic flavor before they have a chance to make that garlic flavor. And you can also use that as a means to control how garlicky your food is. Smash it less and introduce it to the heat more quickly to reduce the amount of garlic flavor that you get out of it, which is never what I want to do, but maybe you don't like garlic as much as I do. Okay, I'm going to spill this if I do it this way. So we're going to take that off the heat. We're going to add our braising liquid to it and return it to the heat. And now we can start adding things. We actually don't want too much black pepper this time. I know, blasphemy. Blasphemy. Me saying we don't need too much black pepper. I just looked at the camera with the food on it, and we have kind of a tan and another pan that's kind of a tan. Tan. Oh, come on. I just got a new bottle of MSG, and the safety seal, instead of coming off, delaminated. It's too safe, guys. It's too safe. MSG. It's... don't need much of it. It comes out these little tiny holes. We don't need much of it, in addition, because we have a bunch of that flavor profile in there already from the meat. We just needed a little bit of salt to sort of wake it up. And in fact, I'm going to add a pinch of salt. We don't need very much salt. I don't think we need very much salt, because we're going to introduce some more salt when the onions are a bit closer. The onions, I think, are right on the cusp. I think the thing is, I thought they were right on the cusp a minute ago, or 10 minutes ago. They're still right on the cusp. They are, if you've been watching their quantity, they are about as jammied down as they can be. They are so soft and sticky and flat on the bottom of the pan. It's taken longer than I thought it was going to, though, and that's some concern, because I'm going to need them. And I was also hoping to free up this front burner. We're going to need them. Stuff there, stuff there. Okay. So that guy needs to come up to a simmer. So that we can start reducing it. In fact, we're just going to pop the heat right up on that, because we need to come to a... we need to start reducing. The flour tower needs to stay out, so I guess it's going to go over there. Okay, okay. Oh. Okay. That guy is coming up to a boil. Is there anything else I'm going to throw in there? Bit of oregano. Onion powder and garlic powder. Because, as always, the powders taste different than the fresh ingredients, so use both. Okay, we need that. We just need that to reduce. So all it needs to do is sit back in the back there and simmer away. Um, my onions, I wish were further along. It's not an emergency on them, but I wish they were further along. It's probably my crappy stove again to blame. Because they've been on there for more than an hour, and that is longer than I think caramelized onions need. I'm going to give a taster to one of them, though. See how we're coming along in terms of the flavor and consistency. They taste like a blonde caramelized onion. They're getting there, but they need more. They need more. That sauce in the back, I think, is now the time. No, I'll add the apple a little bit later. The apple's going to go in there because that, finally, is our applesauce. The thing from the title. It's that guy back there. So we're going to taste it. The apple's going to go in that. We're going to cook it partly. I am going to say the gnocchi is rested enough, and we're going to pull out one of these blobs, and we're going to make little nuggets out of it. And I'm looking at this and thinking that might even be twice as much. That was a big sweet potato. It doesn't stick to the plastic wrap. That's a good sign. It sticks to the plastic wrap a little bit. That's not a good sign. It's so tacky. Okay. Okay. Bring the water to a boil. Wow, this is the lumpiest flour. Flour was on sale, and I guess it was on sale because it's so darn lumpy. Okay, this guy. Break it in half again. The other half up there. Out of the way. Did I lose focus? Kinda? It's hard to tell because everything's so floury, but I think we lost our... I think it took away my focus just now. Okay. And then we roll this guy out into a big log. Gently. By big log, I mean a snake worm thing, because it needs to be skinny. And it needs to be fairly evenly skinny. I think we're at the right consistency. It is a little bit stickier than I think I like. Wow, the end. Normally that end there was off the camera. That is already something better, that we have more work space to work with here. I love it. And then we go snap, snap. Gnocchi. the white is not enjoying the white on white here, but gnocchi. And then I'm gonna manually tuck in the little ears. I've never worked out how to make the ridges that they have on the like the fancy Italian ones. I will say that this amount of gnocchi is enough for serving for one, so I'm not going to bother rolling out the other part. Which means I have 4 servings of gnocchi out of 1 sweet potato, which is impressive. They poof up a little bit when you cook them, and they're very dense. And I overeat a lot. Ooh, my onions look better. Okay, while my back was turned, our onions have turned color. Oh, okay. Our onions have turned color partly because the bottom started to brown. So we did in fact overshoot and got away from our caramelization because I was not watching. But just barely. Just barely did that. You can see how little onion we have left after all that gigantic onion we started with. Close enough. Doesn't need to be perfect. Close enough. In fact, reasonably happy with how that's turning out. My water is starting to come to a boil. We're going to boil our gnocchis in there. My sauce in the back needs to thicken still. And we need to taste it while we still have a chance to put stuff in it. As sauces thicken up, it becomes harder to add more things to them. Damn! Whoa! Whoa! That's a thing. Whoa! I don't want to go into detail about it because I want to describe it at the end, but it's gotta bite you back a little bit. I'm adding my apple to that now. And I'm adding my pork to that now. And we're going to cook it until the apple almost softens up. We're going to not lose track of our caramelized onions, which are finally getting to that brown that I was looking for. Okay, yeah, we're in the home stretch. I left the lemon juice on. I think that the sauce needed a little bit of the acidity, so I just went with it. I should give it a quick taster. But good point. I did add lemon juice to my apples earlier. Because it was a bit on the sweet side, and I thought the acidity would help. But yes, I didn't mention it when I threw them in there. But yeah, it was a little on the sweet side, probably because it has a full cup of this in there that we've been reducing. And although this is not sweetened, it's made from sweet apples, so it's got the sweetness. And then yeah, we're gonna cook that until the apples start to soften up. The onions, they're a little uneven because I let them get away from me just a scooch while we were making the gnocchi, so there are some dark spots. But we're getting that brown color in there that I was looking for. It just took a little bit longer than I expected. Again, I suspect it's the fault of I used such a large onion for such a for this thing, and I kept adding water to it to slow it down. Adding water does slow it down. It prevents it from burning, but it also slows it down. Because I kept going away and doing other things. I think if I had just let it go without the water from the beginning, oh, why did I leave that there? We would have been fine. It would have been done in more close to the time that I expected. But now that we're actually getting down to it, I need to make sure that I keep jamming it around. So I actually don't want to spread it out as much as I did when it was bigger, because you need a little bit of mass to prevent it from burning quite as much. Make a little cake out of it there. The water is coming up towards a boil. I'm going to add a good pinch of salt to that. Let me give my onion a taste real quick. Yeah, we're definitely in the realm. We're definitely in the realm with them. You can see how it's still pushing more moisture out. We're getting bubbling around the edge. I'm going to wrap up the other part of the gnocchi since I've decided I'm only making a dose for one instead of what I've done in the past with the gnocchi is I made all of them as the little individual gnocchis here, and then froze them. This time I am going to wrap up the dough and leave the dough, perhaps just freeze the dough. Because then all I have to do is thaw it, roll it out, and cut it, instead of having to figure out how to freeze. Because I couldn't freeze the gnocchi in a bag. I had to freeze them individually, because otherwise they would just freeze into a block. So that was a little bit awkward the last time we did this, ages ago. I forget how many ages ago at this point. I've lost track. We've done so many of these. Okay. I'm going to say that those onions are good enough. And we're going to move our sauce to the front burner because it's easier for me to work with. Find my tasting spoon. Give us a little taster. Everything's coming apart in there, which is great because it means we're starting to form a sauce. Oh, oh yeah, oh yeah, oh yeah, that's exactly what we wanted. Oh yeah, before I added the apples and the pork, I thought it was a little bit too punchy, but now that is exactly what I had in my mind space. What do I want to throw at it? I am going to add one of my favorite named seasonings. Seasoning. You know, improves the taste. Seasoning, that little bottle there, is essentially pure glutamate derived from wheat gluten. So it is similar to MSG, but it has a more toasty flavor. Our sauce is looking good. My water is boiling, so ow, splashed myself. Cooking gnocchi is super easy because when they are done, they float. So you don't even need to put them all in at the same time. You just scoop them out as they float. We are going to push them around to make sure they haven't stuck to the bottom. But other than that, wait for them to float to the top and then you scoop them out and you're done. That's it. The spider is here in the jar behind the thing. I think they're a little bit too soft for the spider when they're raw. I think they would get stuck in the wires because they're a little bit on the soft side. These gnocchi specifically are a little bit on the soft side because I was tired of kneading them. Let's clean up our workspace. We're going to have to do another thorough cleaning to get rid of the flour. Whenever I do doughs, okay, I am adding part of our caramelized onions to our sauce. Our sauce that is getting less saucy by the minute. Our apples have softened to the point where I can just kind of mash them with the side of the spatula, which is good because I wanted an applesauce without them being boiled to hell. Pardon my language. Not that this is a family-friendly stream. Okay. Now we get potentially a fun part. I'm actually gonna take the remaining caramelized onions and save them. I'll use them for something else some other time. Not many there, but you don't need a lot. They go a long way. Okay. But we're back to this pan. This pan now needs to get hot. So that we can deglaze it, because I do not want to sacrifice all that stuff. That's tasty stuff that's stuck to the bottom of the pan there. I can't see my gnocchis because of the foam in the pot. So I'm just going to take my scooper and scoop near the top. Yep. Because they should all be floating roughly at the top. And you see they've swole up quite a bit, so having this will be plenty. Check the bottom for anybody that's stuck. Nobody is stuck. Okay, so our gnocchis, they're gonna set to the side for a sec. Our boiling water is no longer needed. We'll get rid of it. Put some boiling water down your pipes to help scour deposits off the sides. Okay. Let's deglaze this pan. It's too hot, it's too hot, it's too hot. Okay. Okay, I do think I had it a little bit too hot, and I burned some of our fond before I was able to deglaze it. Because I was distracted by pouring out the water, because there's now little black bits in here that aren't dissolving into the water, and that's burned fond as opposed to what I was after, which was just the fond. We need to cook that off. That was some white wine. That was some Chardonnay I just threw in there to deglaze it. You use a cheap wine. Alcohol boils faster than water, so you can boil it away and you can rapidly deglaze a pan. And then you cook it off a little bit, like we're doing now, to ensure that there's not a ton of alcohol. You don't want your sauce to taste boozy. You want it, you're never going to get 100% of the alcohol out of there, but you definitely don't want it to taste boozy. You want it to taste the other parts of the wine, the not booze parts of the wine. Do I want to strain this? No. I don't. Well, hold on. Maybe I do. I'm going to get my taster and see if I think the little burned flakes are acrid. If they are, then we're probably going to want to figure out how to get rid of them. There is lemon in the sauce because there was lemon in the apples. Also, hi, review. Welcome, welcome. I don't think that those little bits are acrid, and I think our sauce is going to be able to sustain the little black flecks. So we're going to just dump the whole shebang. Get our thing browning up a little bit more with all of our brown fond. There are definitely some visible little black specks in there. I definitely burned the fond a little bit. Okay, I'm just going to take him off the heat. We're going to bring this one back on the heat, and we're going to... Yeah, I had a... Oh God, I was just all up in my own head for a couple of days there, and by a couple of days I mean since the last time we were out and about here, and it's just, and I can't even say that I'm better. I'm just bashing my head through the wall that was holding me back before. Yeah, so you're coming into the part of the project where you can tell that what I'm making is not what the caption says in literal terms. We have made a pork applesauce gnocchi, by which I mean we have made a pork applesauce for gnocchi. We're buttering up our pan because we're going to want to get a little bit of toasty color on our gnocchis before they... Oh, we have an ad, and we have an ad. Make sure we're not sticking to each other or the pan. Get them all nice and coated in butter. I won't add the sauce until we come back from the ad. And I feel like we need something a little bit green just to make everything pop. Probably just going to end up being parsley. It's probably just going to end up being parsley. So yeah, if you, oh boy, if you missed the beginning, this took the whole time. Get my plate ready. I gotta figure out how to make this not completely white itself out. It might be finally time to get something here that's just not white so that I can focus. we're back from the ad. So we're just. Well, these guys want to stick now. Okay, so we can't let these sit around too much because they're going to try to stick to our pan. So I guess we just go for it. That is more sauce than it needed. One scoop would have been fine. Okay. Stuffing the gnocchi? No. No. We're using it as a. An outer coating. We're in fact plating right now. Okay. Yeah, we're heading in toward the home stretch. Let's find the best angle on this, guys. Kind of push everything around. It needs. Okay. It needs two things. One of the things I know it's getting is some cheese, and the kind of cheese it's getting is some good old Wisconsin cheddar. Which I want to get on while it's still hot so it can melt. Because cheddar cheese and applesauce, or cheddar cheese and apple pie. Ooh, you know, neither of those, but both correct. But also, I've just realized that I still have fresh chives growing in the front, so I'm going to cut some chives off of my own front herb garden, and we're going to put chives on this for a little green pop, a little. Of course, I can still talk when I'm in the front because we tested this, that you can hear me all the way to the front window. So I've just cut a few chives. Which we will they'll show up. Don't worry, they'll show up better on the glamour shot than they will here. Although I still have I still think I have the focus slightly. I think it's focused like 3 inches above the actual worktop. Okay, well, good enough. The green will pop on the glamour shot. It's a little muddied. Again, I think I need to work on because you can see that the edge of the plate just melds into the table. So in terms of my white, we're still have to fuss with the white, with the colors, I think. We're gonna take our photo. We're gonna take our glamour shot. And we're gonna come back and we're gonna taste this and we're gonna talk about it. Because I've already taste tested the sauce twice, 3, 4 times while I was building it. And let me tell you about it. Okay. Now I picked cheddar cheese because I was thinking about what cheese I should put on this. And I was thinking about the Parmesan wouldn't be quite right for the sauce I was making. Cheddar cheese and apple pie is a combo that works. So I went for that here. Let's dive in on it though. See what it's like all together. So the sauce is more of a, God, it's like a really thick ragu. Ooh, a little chive top. It's hot, but it's not blow your mouth off hot. Oh, it's, whoa. I think a smaller scoop. It's very, very, very thick. It's actually not as strongly flavored as I was expecting. Interesting, but it's very thick, very unctuous, very meaty, dense. The pork basically just melts in your mouth. I can barely even have to chew it. The gnocchi are providing all the texture here. Let me take another bite because I kind of just ate that one because I was enjoying it so much. So it's, the first thing that strikes you is that it's sweet. It's way sweeter than any pasta that I think I've had. But it's not like candy sweet. It's like there's quite a bit of sugar in it, but it's still it's got this underlying deep richness. Because of course there's butter and all the drippings from our pork ribs, all that stuff's in there. So it's sweet, and then it's got this. It's like the texture of the sauce as a whole, with all those chunks in there, is buttery. And it's meaty. It definitely has a meatiness to it, but the meatiness is not like bam out in front and center. Really, it's a lot of sweetness, and then there's this subtle sharpness and a lot of just sort of nebulous savory. I really like it. Pepper cheese. Maybe. I'm going to try a piece that's definitely covered in cheese, just to see how that... The cheese goes with it, but it's not like in your face. It's not jumping out at you. It's mild. It's a mild, even though I used sharp cheddar. Okay, I used sharp cheddar, but it's from my experience with this company that made this brand of cheese, it's a mild sharp cheddar. I knew it was going to be going in. It's just, it's so what it's doing, the reason I'm having sort of stumbling around when talking about it is a big piece of apple on that one. Which just turns to mush when you bite into it. Oh, but I should have left those chunks a little bit chunkier. The piece of apple just disintegrated when I tried to bite down on it, but it gave me a burst of like sharp sour apple. Interesting. I probably should have split the apple in half and thrown half of it right away to really break down, and saved half of it toward the end to give us a little bit of texture. What was I saying? I was saying the reason I'm having a hard time sort of describing it is because the flavors have all merged together. I can kind of tease out what elements they're contributing, but I can't really taste the individual parts of the sauce, except for odd cases like that, what I just did with that chunk of apple that hadn't been mashed. Because like a French sauce that had been cooked for hours, which this has, the flavors have all evolved and melded and combined into a different whole. So I am going to add this one to the list of recipes I should write down, because I'm really interested in this. Now, the sweet potato gnocchi itself could probably be regular gnocchi, or like orecchiette. I think it needs to be a thick, soft pasta, because this sauce is so thick and chunky. What I need to do is write the recipes. um, that's the problem I have, is I don't sit down and write these down, which is one of the reasons I save all the VODs, is because I want to be sure that I can go back and write them down for the things that I've done that I don't remember what I did. But yes, having a recipes, and I'm thinking of talking about the Discord. We're gonna move into our closing arguments here. I really like this. I'll write this one down. On Jen's scale of mms, I think this got 2 mms, which is pretty good. It's real tasty. Speaking of Discord, you may have noticed I moved some stuff, added some channels, changed permissions on stuff. I'm trying to get it up to scratch. I think I'm going to put a suggestion box channel, just for, whatever you think I should do. But also, having my food and your food as separate channels, I think, is a stupid idea, and I need to merge those together into just food. So yeah, I guess, well, I know you're in the Discord, and everyone else who was here earlier actually popped in when I posted it, so I guess I won't do that again. Oh my god. A bunch of people joined it. So yeah, I know I'm not using the Discord to its fullest, and I should. So welcome to the Discord, everyone who joined the Discord. But yeah, that's a good idea. Having a place to write down recipes in the Discord would be a nice sort of place. I need to practice writing them, so. I'm going to wrap us up and send us away. Now that I've said that, we're going to drop down to like 3 viewers. Who's on? It's been a hot minute since I done this. We're gonna go raid George. Who might be coming to a conclusion soon. I'm not sure. We're gonna raid George. George also cooks, and I went and looked at his own website. He sells hot sauce, which is why he's called George Hot Sauce. So I guess try his hot sauce. I haven't had it. Ask him about it. It looks like he's already plated up on his side. Maybe I should pop in to see if he's ducking out. It doesn't look like it. Well, yes. So I'm back. I have. I'm hoping to be back on Thursday, but I have a COVID vaccine tomorrow, so that might lay me out for Thursday. So we'll guess we'll find out. So I hope to be back. I hope to be just back here on the reg again. We've got the new camera hooked up. The new head earpiece. I've set it down somewhere, probably safely in the other room. So we actually get sounds. Which the reason I haven't hooked that up is because I need to make the sounds, but I'll get to that. But yeah, thanks for hanging out. Always a good time with you. Thanks for joining the Discord. Thanks for following, etc. I'll catch you next time.